Have you ever wished you could just focus on your code without worrying about the infrastructure, servers, updates, or maintenance? Well, that's exactly the idea behind serverless computing. Now, don't be tricked by the name. Serverless doesn't mean there are no servers at all. It simply means that the cloud provider takes care of all the heavy liftings, the servers, scaling, patching, and maintenance, while you only focus on writing your code or any part of your application logic. In action, these underlying infrastructure servers and any other related components are completely hidden from your perspective. In non-serverless methods, like the ordinary or traditional execution methods, if you wanted to launch an application, you had to somehow handle underlying infrastructure resources, like networking, storage, virtualization, operating system, and basically the whole stack. With serverless, all of that disappears into the background, and all you need to worry about is what should my code do? AWS takes care of the rest. You only need to focus on your pure code and application logic. It doesn't matter if it's Python, Node.js, Go, or any other languages. You can use whatever language you're already comfortable with. Now let's bring this to life with an example. Imagine you're using a ride-sharing app. You tap the button to book a ride. Behind the scenes, a chain of small tasks kicks in, checking for drivers nearby, calculating the fare, sending notification, and updating the driver's dashboard. With serverless computing, instead of a big complex logic, each of these steps can be handled by lightweight pieces of code. These are commonly referred to as functions. AWS has a service called Lambda functions to do this. Your action, requesting the ride, triggers a Lambda function which does its job and then disappears until it's needed again. It is totally up to you how to design this flow. You can keep some things inside one function or break your logic into smaller functions that trigger one another for better modularity and control. Lambda functions are perfect for event-driven data processing, running scheduled tasks, automation for ID operations, lightweight backend logic, and generally any ad hoc operations that finishes in less than 15 minutes. One of the other cool things about this service is that these functions scale instantly. Whether it's one user calling a ride or millions of users during rush hour, the functions can be triggered and successfully run as many as required. Nothing to be worried about on your side, and AWS does the magic handling the scale. With AWS Lambda functions, you only pay when the code actually runs. No idle time costs. If a function takes 200 milliseconds to run, you only pay for those 200 milliseconds. That makes it perfect for things like real-time data processing, event-driven apps, and microservices that don't need to run 24/7. Now, Lambda is just one piece of code for execution. What if you have a bunch of codes and application logics grouped together and you want to have a container out of it? That's where AWS Fargate steps in. The key difference is that AWS Lambda runs small pieces of code or functions, while AWS Fargate runs full containers, both in a serverless way. With Fargate, AWS handles the underlying infrastructure resources and operations for you, guaranteeing that your provided container will run successfully as you need it. You don't even know what happens under the hood. You just say, here's my container, run it with these specifications, scale it if demand grows, and done. What's really powerful is that Fargate works with both ECS, which is Amazon's container service, and EKS, which is Amazon's managed Kubernetes. So no matter how you like to run containers, you can go serverless. And because Fargate can do the scale automatically, you could be running just 2 containers 1 minute and 200 the next, without lifting a finger. So, given how big cloud computing and microservices are getting, what makes serverless computing such a game changer in today's cloud architecture trends? The answer is simple: cost efficiency and flexibility. Traditional infrastructure means paying for servers around the clock, even if they're doing nothing half the time. Serverless flips that model. With Lambda, you're billed per milliseconds of execution. With Fargate, You pay only for the CPU and memory your containers actually use while running. It's like paying for electricity while the light is switched on. No usage, no cost. That's why serverless has become such a game changer, whether you're building a small side project or running large-scale enterprise apps. Alright, that's a wrap on our introduction to serverless computing with AWS Lambda and Fargate. Remember, the magic of serverless is not about removing servers, it's about removing the burden of managing them. So we can focus on what matters most, which is building great applications. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.